Good afternoon, Pulaskians, and welcome to the 2024 State of the Union Address for our nation. This is our first time hosting a State of the Union Address, so very exciting indeed. So without further ado, let's get straight in. I'd like to begin with speaking about our upcoming census and elections for 2025. After Christmas and New Year's, once we return from our holidays, we will begin our 2025 census. Originally, we had not planned to do a census again until 2026, but we believed it was necessary to go ahead and hold one in 2025 so we can get accurate data, especially in preparation for elections. It is planned for only January. It's only planned currently to last through the month of January, possibly into February if more time is needed. And if it isn't filled out, you will not necessarily be considered a participating Pulaskian citizen. If the census isn't filled out, you could have citizenship revoked until further notice, and all that would mean is that you would essentially lose citizenship unofficially, because you just would not be considered a participating citizen, but your citizenship would not actually be revoked. So if you were to become a participating citizen again, you would essentially have all those rights and powers of citizenship returned to you. But not filling out the census means we will not remind you about voting, and you will likely be removed from Country Talk for an indefinite period, or at least until you have regained that citizenship. We are also prepared to deliver a complete redesign of our census, restructuring several questions. Last year's census was just inadequate. It was not enough information for us to properly view the, I suppose you would call it, statistics of our nation. And also necessary are districts, which we will talk about in a little bit. Essentially, this census will help us to create districts for electing representatives as opposed to how we previously have elected them, which is through provincial level voting, akin to how senators of the United States are elected. And speaking of elections, we are planning to streamline them this year. Elections are planned to be streamlined this year. Following the census, using that information, that census information, we will be able to divide up the provinces into districts. Each will, in the 2025 election, elect one representative. They will be equal in population, hopefully roughly equal in size, just depending on where exactly Pulaskian citizens are found to live, which is some information that will be taken up by the census. But in short, we will have a much different system for electing representatives this year. Also regarding voting reminders, there will be no multiple voting reminders. Last year, we continually asked people to vote and encouraged voting quite a bit. This year, it will not be the same. This year, it's going to be different. We will ask people, remind them to vote once, maybe twice, if they request another reminder at a later time. However, we are not going to pressure the population into voting. All this is essentially saying is, if you don't vote, then we are not going to remind you to vote. So please get out there and vote. Your vote does count in Pulaskia. And so we do hope to see all of you voting. So that brings me to the end of election talk. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that many citizens may have, and these can be addressed at a later date. But for now, this is what we have. Moving into the topic of foreign relations, things are going relatively well as of the current moment. We have seen good relations with our allies of New Italia, of Prospelis, of Hakoi. Currently, we will begin officially writing out an alliance treaty to stabilize, to secure our alliance with Prospelis, which has been unsigned for many years and needs to be drawn up in order for an official alliance to be established. But currently, foreign relations are good with Prospelis, with our allies in New Italia, and with our allies in Hakoi. Still remaining very strong, luckily. And I'm sure, as many of you know, that the Pulaskian Civil War has ended. We took the liberty of posting an announcement of the Civil War's ending a couple of months ago. So following the Treaty of Bryant, which was signed in August, reparations have been paid. Everything is situated as far as the Civil War goes and New Libertas goes. And we're hoping to move forward. And preparations are already being made after the census. New Libertas will be most likely officially made a province after the census in order that it can elect its own representative. And that, I believe, brings me to the conclusion of foreign relations, besides one other matter being the creation of a regional United Micronational Council. We announced planning for this 1 or 2 months ago. We have not been able to do very much work on it due to a few roadblocks. But a United Micronational Council, a charter is being drafted up for that, which will hopefully be signed by local micronations to ensure greater cooperation. And we are most definitely pushing for this to hopefully stabilize the region after a very unstable past year. And that does truly bring me to the end of our foreign relations talk. As for economic issues, we are preparing to redesign and begin printing the Pulaskian dollar, hopefully as soon as possible. Currently, we have designs that were official for a short period of time. However, it was requested by several officials featured on the Pulaskian dollar to change or remove their portraits from the bill, and as such, a redesign and overhaul is needed currently. And following that, we will hopefully be printing. but this has not been confirmed yet. I would not take this as a definite, we are going to be printing soon. I would take this as it's highly likely we're going to be printing soon, and we'll definitely be trying to. As for other economic issues, the economy was shaken by the October scare. A brief series of economic shocks sent the Pulaskian economy into a downturn briefly. But I am proud to announce that it is recovering. Citizen income is at its highest since the beginning of this school year. The beginning of this school year in September, I want to say, was when we began recording economic data. So citizen income is at its highest, especially with new small businesses popping up within Pulaskia and local businesses beginning to hire Pulaskians who are coming of age. We are also at a highest number of exports. We are an export high. Our import level has remained relatively stable. Pulaskia, as usual, is required to import the majority of its items from the United States. And of course, that is not going to change anytime soon. But for now, the economy is recovering, and so a good future looks to be ahead. The economy is strong, and it is growing, and I'm proud to announce that. And coming closer and closer to the end of our first State of the Union address, I would like to address Pulaskian democracy. It has been one of the biggest issues since the beginning of this nation, especially with the amount of corruption that has seeped its way into Pulaskia since the beginning. And though not much has been done yet, we have plans in place to combat corruption over the next few months in preparation for the census and elections. And in spite of global threats to democratic institutions and democracy as a whole, we are proud to announce that democracy is still strong within Pulaskia, or at least as strong as it can be. So we're proud to announce that. And to close our first State of the Union address, I would like to announce the suggestion to the Presidential Council of a first constitutional amendment, which will be approaching the desk of the council soon, in order to protect the rights and freedoms not yet protected by the Pulaskian Constitution. This includes many rights defined under the U.S. Constitution and constitutional amendments, prohibiting slavery, prohibiting racial prejudice and prejudice by any metric. And we are hopeful that this will be passed very soon. Though it has not been officially proposed yet, we can be expecting to look out for and be seeing that hopefully enter the council soon, very soon. With that, I am happy to announce the conclusion of the first Pulaskian State of the Union address. I thank you all for watching, and I am hopeful to see all of you soon when we are back from break.